Has your ex reached out since the divorce? One woman asked Brooke, sipping wine on the Travelers Inn terrace. Brooke shook her head. Not since I kicked him out and served him divorce papers and a restraining order. He tried to contact the kids, but they ignored him. Ellie, new to the group, asked, Was it a tough split? It sounds painful. It happened a year ago, Brooke replied with bitterness. He fought it for a year until he realized the kids wanted nothing to do with him. Then he gave up, signed the papers, and left. He's been gone for 2 years. Good riddance. Why did you divorce him? Ellie asked. Because he cheated on me with his first love, Gemma Evans, came a voice from behind. Jake Van Dam cheated. No way. He's not that complicated. And if he cheated with me, I'd remember. You're up to your games again, Brooke Puckett. Brooke snapped. Well, look who's here. You've got nerves. Gemma retorted. You started manipulating Jake while we were together. Your lies broke us up, and now you accuse him of cheating with me. When did this supposedly happen? Gemma asked. 2 years ago. You know that, Brooke replied. Oh, please. I was in Scotland studying linguistics at the time. I've been away for 3 years. Before that, I taught high school on the other side of the country. Brooke paled. This wasn't what she expected, and it was bad news. If it wasn't Gemma, then who was Jake cheating with, Brooke? Gemma continued. You made it so he couldn't stay here anymore. Even his parents were fooled by your antics. I don't believe he was fooled, but was following you. Are those kids his? Gemma pondered aloud. But I've got places to be, people to see, like Jake's parents. Brooke's face drained of color. Don't you dare. I'll make your life miserable. Gemma gave a cold smirk. Life hasn't been kind to you, has it? You need loads of makeup to look decent. But I must pay a visit to your ex-in-laws and provide an alibi for Jake. Farewell. With a final glance, Gemma added, Jake didn't cheat, and I'll set the record straight. Thanks for kicking him out. He'll be mine soon enough. And your threat? Ridiculous. I'm leaving this snake pit tomorrow. Now go suck lemons. Gemma walked to her car, heading straight for the Van Dam house. The grand estate looked just as Gemma remembered, with 3 parking spots by the gate. 2 massive ginkgo biloba trees stood just outside, planted by Jake's great-grandparents. Gemma retrieved her laptop from the trunk and approached the door, knocking and waiting. Jake's grandfather answered. Can I help you, young lady? Good afternoon, Mr. Van Dam. I'm Gemma Evans. Remember me? Yes, I recall. Weren't you involved in Jake's marriage trouble? Yes, sir. I'm here to prove Jake couldn't have had an affair with me. I was in Edinburgh at the time. The old man scrutinized Gemma, his eyes penetrating. Finally, he said, Call me Rufus Sr., with a twinkle in his eyes. My son and daughter-in-law believe Jake's guilty, do I? No, he's not capable. Why do you want to clear his name? Gemma sensed Rufus Sr. could detect any lie, and lying to him would be humiliating. She responded honestly, Jake doesn't know it yet, but I'm going to be the next Mrs. Van Dam. But first I need to find him. Do you happen to know where he is, Mr. Van Dam? The old man's eyes twinkled as he replied, He's at St. Christopher's Crossing, doing well at the university. But remember, our secret. And I must say, you're a lovely woman. I have another secret, Gemma revealed. I accepted a job at the same university, so I'll run into him soon. A voice from the back of the house interrupted, but the old man just grinned. Do you know where the kitchen is? Gemma nodded, nearly colliding with Jake's mother. You've got nerve, she yelled. Ruin my son's marriage and then show up here uninvited? Get out, Jake's grandfather intervened, his voice booming. Anna, she's my guest. I'll listen to what she has to say. She claims she was abroad during the whole mess. Anna Van Dam deflated, eyeing Gemma skeptically. I don't believe you, she shot back. Gemma grabbed her laptop, smiled at the old man, and said, I'll prove it. An hour later, Gemma faced a furious mother and grandfather. Now what? Anna whispered. Gemma opted for honesty again. I don't know, I'm leaving tomorrow. Jake and I were becoming fast friends until Brooke came along. She recounted losing her friend and soulmate to Brooke, leaving out her suspicions about the pregnancy. That was Jake's story to tell if she could find him. Anna was shocked by the scheming of her grandchildren's mother and decided her husband, Jake Jr., should meet Gemma too. She asked warmly, Would you stay for dinner, dear? And please share your story with Randall, my husband. Gemma politely declined, citing her need to prepare for her new job. She also withheld the location of her new job from Anna. As Gemma bid farewell, Anna looked away briefly. Gemma, if you find Jake, let us know. We've made mistakes and mistreated him. I want my youngest back, Anna said softly. If, or rather when, I find him, I'll pass on the message. but it's not up to me to reveal where he is. Jake disappeared for a reason. He doesn't want to be found, Gemma added, before heading to her car. As she walked, she spotted a man approaching. Damn, Jake's brother, she thought. She examined him. He appeared older and overweight, lumbering like a gorilla with rough features, thick neck, and broad shoulders. His belly protruded, and he wheezed like a steam engine. Rufus Van Dam scrutinized the slender woman, sensing familiarity but unable to place her. She needs bigger breasts. Not my type, but those legs, he mused. Entering the house, he encountered his grandfather. Got a visitor? He asked. Rufus Sintra maintained a neutral expression. Yes, an old friend of Jake's trying to reconnect. But we don't know where he lives, do we? Young Rufus cursed silently, thinking of his cheating brother. Make sure it's thorough. I still want him gone, far away in every sense, he ordered, climbing the stairs to his specially adapted apartment after his accident. Meanwhile, Brooke pondered her life during the divorce. Jake, 35, was 2 years younger. Their kids, aged 16 and 15, were born a year apart. They didn't meet right away. Brooke first noticed 18-year-old Jake after finishing a 10-kilometer swim. She initially ignored him until a dark-haired girl helped him with his wetsuit, catching her attention. Suddenly, he looked stunning, and Brooke observed them closely. The man had short reddish-brown hair, green eyes, and an oval face with a defined nose and full lips. He had broad shoulders, long arms, wide wrists, and slender fingers. Muscular legs completed his swimmer's physique. The girl noticed his muscles tense as she dried him off, learning later that he was a swimmer. Despite the girl likely being his girlfriend, Brooke decided she wanted him and plotted to make it happen. It took 6 months to break through his shyness. When his potential girlfriend moved away, Brooke found it easier to manipulate the situation. Jake suggested a family barbecue, revealing he was the youngest of 3 siblings. At the barbecue, Brooke observed Jake and his brother. They looked alike but differed greatly. Jake was slim and not overly muscular, while his brother Rufus was bulkier with exaggerated muscles and a louder demeanor. Rufus took an interest in Brooke, offering attention and gifts, eventually settling her into a hotel. After a month, Brooke realized she missed her period. When she confronted Rufus, he laughed in her face. Should have taken the pill, dumb cow, he eventually spat. Brooke's dating history consisted only of her first boyfriend and Rufus. After Rufus, she felt confident handling Jake. 3 months later, they married in a small ceremony. Since then, Brooke felt content. Jake was attentive and provided well. Plus, she had a lover on the side for quick casual encounters. Rufus was unremarkable, his presence fleeting. Brooke didn't mind not always climaxing. She relished the thrill of her deception. 13 years later, Rufus's lifestyle caught up with him, deeply troubling him. Years of using muscle-enhancing substances had taken a toll on his heart. Collapsing at the gym, he was fortunate to have a nurse nearby who performed CPR until paramedics arrived. Rushed to the hospital, tests revealed a ruptured myocardium from prolonged steroid use, requiring immediate surgery. Discharged with a changed physique, Rufus realized he needed long-term care. Over several months, he manipulated Brooke, criticizing Jake and urging her to demand more financial stability. Playing the sufferer, Rufus exaggerated his suffering, gradually influencing Brooke's behavior towards Jake for the worse. She began to nitpick and demand her own car, unaware of the strain she was putting on Jake, a level of pressure she'd never exerted before. Brooke faltered as Jake walked away mid-tirade, leaving her shouting after him. He retreated to his office, signaling his limit. After almost 15 years of marriage, Brooke realized Jake endured hits until pushed too far, then exploded. Seeing his breaking point, Jake recognized the deep rift in his soul and the need to protect himself. Jake had always known Rufus would inherit the family company, a successful supplier to the aviation industry. Despite earning a doctorate in aeronautics and a master's in industrial design, his father sidelined him. Suspecting Rufus's involvement, Jake focused on his own workload, aware he had more than enough to handle. When his father fired him over a technicality, Jake refused to sign a document barring him from the competition. Laughing in his father's face, he left, kissed his secretary, and sang Tommy by The Who, feeling free. Soon after, a competitor offered him a lucrative position, matching his previous salary for fewer hours and better benefits. Anticipating his family's desire to sideline him, Jake followed his grandfather's advice, launching his own company based in Luxembourg. He channeled freelance work through this entity, with most revenue stored in offshore accounts. Brooke assumed Jake was working extra hours for more money, unaware of his offshore dealings. As Jake prioritized family time, he redirected all income to offshore accounts, intending to continue freelancing without interruption. Recognizing the need for balance, he resolved to spend more time with his children and reduce his excessive work hours. The next morning, Jake read the paper on his tablet while sipping coffee as Brooke entered the kitchen. "Where were you all night?" "I've been waiting," she remarked. "For about 5 minutes. Then you fell asleep," he retorted. "Cynicism doesn't suit you," she replied dryly. Brooke swallowed her venomous reply, instead saying, "Speak your mind." Jake expressed his dissatisfaction with Brooke's demanding behavior, announcing he would work fewer hours to spend time with their kids. If she wanted more, she should find a job. He warned of divorce if her behavior continued, leaving for breakfast. Brooke was stunned, never having seen Jake like this. She called Rufus for advice, who revealed he had a plan B for dealing with Jake's stubbornness. Jake sat at his desk when his secretary announced an unexpected visitor. Surprised, he inquired if there were any unlisted appointments. "No, sir, but she insists it's urgent," came the response. An elderly woman entered, asking for his identification before handing him 2 sealed envelopes marked, "You have been served." She left, expressing concern to the clerk. Jake felt a strange relief, though he knew it was bad news. Expecting it, he was still hurt, especially by the restraining order preventing contact with his family and the affidavit claiming a relationship with Gemma Evans. He began the necessary procedures, seeking legal assistance through a client's referral and securing a small apartment for the immediate future. Back to the present. Brooke noticed Olivia and Brian discussing something. Their voices were quiet, but not so quiet that Brooke could hear what they were talking about. It sounded like her son had a problem and wanted to talk to his father about it. Brooke interjected. "Why, if you have a problem, don't you talk to your Uncle Rufus about it?" Olivia mockingly replied. "What could that sweaty, fat pervert have to say that even remotely resembles a reasonable person?" Brooke was stunned and insulted by proxy. She bit her tongue to keep from telling them who the real father was. "What? He's your uncle, mind you." "Yeah, not a bad uncle. Offered me money for showing my bosom and said he'd reward me generously if I helped him ease his urges. And that's not what he asked for," her daughter replied with disgust. Brooke thought, "That's his own daughter, for crying out loud, and he knows it. If it's true what she's telling me, God help me." Many bodies were pulled out of the closet that night. Brooke had no choice but to conclude that Rufus was a pervert and a danger to her and her own children. The fact that nothing had happened was due to the fact that Jake had instilled self-esteem in the children. Now the serious problem was the fact that she would soon be dependent on Rufus for income and lifestyle. Jake's substantial child support payments initially provided stability, but Brooke soon faced financial strain and regretted past choices. In a pleasant exchange, Gemma met Professor Leonard Daltrey, who shared insights about the university and his life. He mentioned temporary housing options and suggested exploring properties in St. Christopher's Woods. Gemma, after acclimating to the area, began her search for a permanent home, joined by Nadia Thompson. They stumbled upon a sign advertising land for sale. Below, in smaller font, the land had already secured a building permit. "What a stunning location," exclaimed Gemma. "I could definitely see myself living here. But who would design a house to blend in with this environment, let alone construct it?" Nadia grinned. "I know just the person. He's an aeronautical engineer and designer, starting to become a close friend of ours. He's a bit of a recluse, but when he opens up, he's great company. I'm hosting him for dinner on Friday. You're welcome to meet him if you'd like." "I'd love to," replied Gemma cheerfully. Meanwhile, at the Vandam residence, Brooke's thin voice called out to her grandfather. Rufus Vandam Sr. studied the face of the woman, the mother of his great-grandchildren, seated at his desk. "Born to the wrong man," he remarked. A perceptive observer of emotions, he noted her distress. "What's troubling you, dear?" he inquired. "Do you know where Jake is?" Brooke asked uncertainly. "I won't confirm or deny that," Rufus replied. "Why do you ask? Problems in paradise?" Brooke was caught off guard and nearly admitted yes, but restrained herself in time. The old man noticed her reaction. It was time to address the issue head-on. In a stern tone, he pressed on. "Rufus possesses some rather unsavory traits. Wouldn't you agree?" Brooke hesitated. "His steroid dependence certainly doesn't help." "I'm not sure what you're implying," she replied. Rufus Sr. smirked. "Don't try to deceive me, young lady. Despite my age, I'm far from senile. I know your children don't inherit Jake's traits." "What? How dare you?" Brooke exclaimed. "Don't underestimate me. I'm ready to stake my entire fortune. What color are your eyes?" "Blue." "And Jake's?" "Green." And your children's. Brown. There you have it. It's highly improbable they resemble Jake, given that Rufus and Jake once resembled each other. But Rufus has brown eyes, and you spent considerable time in his company. Brooke felt her world shatter. Clutching the chair backs until her knuckles whitened, she struggled to speak, but words failed her. Grandpa's words were unyielding. You're alone in this. You fell under the sway of the wrong man, letting him manipulate you and your children. Now facing unexpected consequences, you seek Jake's return. Whether or not I know where he is, I won't aid you. Leave. As Brooke departed, Rufus Sr. lingered by the window, contemplating the need to compose a lengthy letter. Gemma and the Thompson couple had developed a friendship during her stay, yet she had never been invited into their home until now. Waiting for the door to open, she scanned her surroundings nervously. When Nathan greeted her, she was taken aback. "Oh, hello! You must be Gemma. I'm Nathan. Everyone calls me Nathan, except Nadia when she's upset. Then it's Nathaniel. Come on in." Gemma was surprised by the scar across Nathan's handsome face. As he escorted her to the kitchen, she noticed his trim physique, albeit with a slight limp. What had caused his injury? In the kitchen, Gemma received a warm welcome. After introducing herself to Jacob, their son, she turned to Nadia, praising the beauty of the house and its surroundings. Nadia's expression briefly faltered as she considered her response. "It's a long and bittersweet tale with a silver lining. I'll share it with you sometime, but it's Nathan's story and I need his permission. Only a select few know about it. For now, I can say Nathan reclaimed it from local oppressors and triumphed. And Jacob isn't mine. He's Nathan's from his first marriage." "His first wife passed away?" "Yes, he's a widower. And I'm thrilled to share that in 6 months, Jacob won't be the only child here." Gemma hugged Nadia, expressing her joy. She wanted to inquire about the baby's due date, but Nathan interrupted. "Gemma, meet Jake." Gemma exclaimed and impulsively hugged Jake. His reaction was indifferent as he greeted her. "Gemma, long time no see." Feeling embarrassed, Gemma released him. Nadia and Nathan exchanged looks, and Nathan asked, "Do you two know each other?" Before Gemma could respond, Jake interjected, "We used to be friends." Gemma's happiness faded, tears welling in her eyes. This wasn't the joyful reunion she had anticipated. She sobbed, "Jake, why are you so distant? Aren't you glad to see me? I missed you terribly." Jake was taken aback and felt even more bewildered. Glancing at his hosts, Nathan simply gestured, "Let's give you some space. You can use the study over there." Seated in the study, Jake observed Gemma, who was now visibly upset. He confronted her, saying, "You told Brooke that we had an affair while I was married to her. You even signed the affidavit that ended my marriage. Why should I be glad to see you? Those lies hurt me deeply." Gemma suddenly grasped the extent of the deception. She resented how Brooke had manipulated her to tarnish Jake's reputation in their community. With determination, Gemma addressed Jake. "Listen closely. Before coming here, I lived in Europe for 3 years. I never told Brooke that. I overheard her boasting about it in public, and I confronted her then and there. Later, I spoke to your parents and your grandfather. He assured me you were doing well and that I might meet you here. I hadn't expected it so soon, but I was already planning to search for you. I've missed you terribly." Jake blushed. "But the affidavit, it's forged, and if you still have the original, someone's in trouble." "Jake, I loved you then, and I still do. I would never betray you by getting involved while you were married. I've been tormented, thinking you betrayed me and wondering what I did to deserve it." "So you believe me?" "Absolutely. You've given me at least one verifiable fact, and a call to my grandfather can confirm the rest. Plus, you've never lied to me before." "Yes, I believe you." Gemma felt relieved to have overcome that hurdle. The next challenge was how to express her feelings to Jake and whether he would reciprocate. Summoning all her courage, she asked, "Can we make amends with a kiss?" Pushing back her chair, she approached Jake, who embraced her, asking, "Can you forgive me?" "For what?" Gemma responded indignantly. "You've been manipulated in a horrible way. There's nothing to forgive." As Jake leaned in to kiss Gemma on the cheek, she turned and their lips met. After breaking the kiss, Gemma grinned broadly, leaving Jake stunned. "Did you just kiss me?" "Did that really happen?" Jake asked incredulously. "Yes. I've wanted to ever since you were no longer married to that woman. I've already claimed you to Brooke. Just let me know when. I'm impatient, but whether it's slow or fast, I'm coming for you." Jake, enjoying the sensation of Gemma's body against his, expressed his hesitations, explaining, "You know I'm damaged, right? There's a reason I'm building my home in such a remote place. I need to heal first, and I've avoided facing my demons because it's too painful. Let me in. I'll always be there for you. I know you married her because she was pregnant. Otherwise, you'd be with me, and I've wondered if your son is actually yours. There's something odd about that. Now let's join our hosts. One last thing. Consider accepting a job offer from Professor Daltrey. It could benefit you, Gemma advised. Upon their return, Gemma announced, "Problem solved. He's mine now, although he's not entirely convinced yet." Nadia cheered happily. "Excellent, that was quick. What's next?" Gemma cuddled up to Jake and replied with deep satisfaction. "I have plans. One involves justice. Another is about never letting him out of my sight again. And finally, how do I go about securing that land we saw this afternoon?" The dinner was a hit, filled with laughter and reminiscing. Gemma shared old stories from their friendship days. Later, she broached a serious topic. "Jake, did that woman ever explain how she had a fully developed son after just 6.5 months of pregnancy?" "No. I was too caught up in the moment to notice. In hindsight, that was foolish of me." "But what are you suggesting?" Nathan, empathizing with the overwhelming experience of witnessing childbirth, spoke softly. "It might not be yours, and you might have been set up. But they resemble me, and each other, unmistakably." Both Jake and Gemma hesitated, unwilling to voice their suspicions. Suddenly, the two women embraced Jake, offering comforting words. Pulling himself together, Jake asked, "What do we do now? I need certainty." Nadia held his hand and suggested, "Can you think of anyone who resembles you? Perhaps a cousin?" Gemma interjected, "Rufus. It could be him." Jake countered, "No, they don't get along." Nadia proposed, "They might keep it a secret, knowing you wouldn't suspect. The only way to find out is a paternity test. We need a top-notch lawyer for this. Donna Marshall is the best. Nathan, could you reach out to her?" Meanwhile, Brooke was still struggling. 2 weeks after Jake's grandfather refused to help her find him, she remained trapped. She dreaded severing ties between Rufus and her children, yet she relied on him for financial support. While preparing dinner as the kids did their schoolwork, a knock interrupted her thoughts. Looking through the small window, she spotted a man and a woman outside. Opening the door, she inquired, "Can I assist you?" The woman confirmed, "Are you Mrs. Puckett? Mrs. Brooke Puckett, ex-wife of Mr. Jacob Randall Van Dam?" "Yes. What's the matter?" The man then revealed, "I have a warrant. We need DNA samples from your children. Failure to comply will lead to arrest." "What? Who? Why do you need their DNA for a paternity test?" The woman's simple confirmation left Brooke reeling. Brooke had always held on to a vague hope that her children might be Jake's only chance of reconciliation. Plus, Jake's substantial child support payments kept her comfortable. If the children weren't his, those payments would vanish, jeopardizing her lifestyle. Meanwhile, at the Van Dam house, another pair of paramedics, accompanied by an officer, arrived. Rufus Sr. watched, fearing Gemma had found Jake and revealed the truth. Rufus Jr. resisted, resulting in a humiliating arrest. 2 weeks later, Gemma burst into Jake's apartment with the results. Both sat on the couch as Jake read the document, growing visibly distressed. "Jake, what's wrong? You look pale," Gemma asked. "I'm not having a heart attack, but I might as well be. Both kids are Rufus's. They and Brooke are going to pay for everything they've done to me and more." Gemma leaned into Jake, seeking solace for both of them. Despite feeling comforted by her presence, Jake remained hesitant to reciprocate. They exchanged chaste hugs and cheek pecks, but Gemma's desire simmered beneath the surface. Then, Jake's gaze softened, revealing vulnerability. "Gemma, please understand," he began. "I love you deeply, but I need to resolve things first. I don't want to drag you into this mess. And starting now might make you a rebound, which isn't fair to you. If you want to leave, I'll understand." Relief washed over Gemma. She knew expressing such emotions was difficult for Jake, but his love was evident. Taking a moment to absorb this, Gemma gently kissed him, pouring her love into the embrace. Jake was taken aback, feeling a surge of emotions. Gemma reassured him, "No more excuses, Jake. I'm here to support you every step of the way." Jake embraced Gemma, savoring her scent, and suggested, "Why not hold off on building the house until we sort this out? You might not need it then. I could renovate and expand my place to fit your needs." Gemma was taken aback. "Did he just offer me to move in with him?" she wondered aloud. "Yes, it's an invitation," Jake confirmed. "I'm committed to you, with or without a ceremony. But if you want a ring, I'm all in." "I do want a ring," Gemma asserted. "A simple gold band just like yours." And I'll bring the broom when you're ready." That same week, they met with Donna Marshall, where Jake outlined his plan for revenge. Donna explained she wasn't the right fit for such a task, but knew someone who was, a colleague experienced in handling such matters. Later, as Brooke went about her chores, she dared to hope that the silence following the DNA tests meant the ordeal might fade away. She managed to shield her children from Rufus's direct influence, with her grandfather's support after confiding in him. Since Rufus Jr.'s arrest, he seemed intimidated by Rufus Sr. Suddenly, her peace was disrupted by a loud knock on the door. Opening it, she faced Rufus, his face flushed and body trembling, holding a stack of papers. "What's this?" he bellowed, waving the documents. "That idiot of a brother is demanding a fortune from me for raising my kids. He's even seized all my assets," Brooke muttered as she collapsed into a chair. "Jake's up and about now, knowing the truth about the kids. He's gearing up for revenge. If he targets me too, it's over. I'd be worse off than Edmond Dante." Dread washed over her as her lavish lifestyle crumbled. Rufus Jr. was still ranting when another knock echoed at the door. Brooke hesitated, but the knocking grew more persistent. Gathering herself, she approached the door and opened it to find a man with round glasses and a mustache, reminiscent of Professor Calculus from Tintin. Behind him, a woman with a video camera waited. "Are you Mrs. Brooke Puckett?" he inquired. Confirming her identity, she received an envelope. "You've been served. Have a good day," he said before departing. With a sinking heart, Brooke watched them leave before retreating inside, consumed by fear and dread. Upon examining the contents of the envelope, Brooke was confronted with a series of documents that exacerbated her apprehension. Among them were DNA test results definitively establishing Jake's non-paternity, with his brother identified as the biological father of the children. Subsequent papers outlined a formidable array of claims, including reimbursement of child support payments with accrued interest, as well as allegations of deception and defamation, the latter stemming from Gemma Evans. Relief came in the form of reassurance from Rufus, assuring Brooke that the company would shoulder the ensuing legal expenses, given her status as the mother of his children. This gesture, however, did little to assuage the mounting tension, particularly as the evening progressed. At a subsequent family gathering, Rufus Jr. boldly asserted a newfound romantic affiliation between himself and Brooke, alongside declarations of intent to assume guardianship of the children post-legal proceedings. Grandfather Rufus intervened, advocating for legal counsel for his grandson and refraining from corporate intervention in matters of alleged deception and its consequences, emphasizing the need for individual accountability. Amidst a palpable silence, Jake's father interjected, advocating for legal recourse against perceived slander, invoking the company's legal prowess. The ensuing exchange underscored the complex legal and interpersonal dynamics at play, indicative of the multifaceted challenges ahead. Rufus Sr. countered, asserting the validity of Jake's accusations, affirming that the children were indeed Rufus's, a result of his ongoing affair with Brooke. He emphasized Jake's right to legal recourse given the DNA evidence. Moreover, he pointed out the company's policy breaches resulting from Rufus Jr.'s indiscretions, indicating that legal action would serve to uphold corporate regulations rather than fuel Rufus Jr.'s ego. In a burst of anger, Rufus Jr. stormed out, visibly shaken. Rufus Sr., recognizing the wreckage of his youngest son's demeanor, followed him, offering a warning laden with venomous intent. Despite the confrontation, Rufus Jr. defiantly asserted his own power and alliances, challenging any attempt to thwart him. Returning to his apartment, Rufus Sr. reflected on the situation, then made a decisive move, reaching for his Rolodex to contact the University of St. Christopher's Crossing. During breakfast, Rufus Sr. faced pressure from his sons to utilize the company's legal advisors for their battle against Jake. Despite realizing the costly nature of the legal dispute and the strategy to prolong it, Rufus Sr. remained steadfast, warning against any misuse of company resources. Later, Rufus Sr. called Professor Daltrey, seeking a favor involving two individuals. Reflecting on past support, he offered to repay the favor by attempting to recruit two employees, Jake Van Dam and Gemma Evans. "Ah," Leon remarked, "I get your grandson, but Miss Evans. She told me she heard rumors about Jake's marriage and wanted to sort things out since he's divorced. It seems they've already connected." "You're not mistaken," Rufus Sr. confirmed. "When can we meet? I'll arrange for their availability. Is it a 2-hour drive? I can leave in half an hour. I'd appreciate your presence." "I'll make it happen. You seem eager," Rufus Sr. replied. "Yes," he said simply. I'll see you soon. Later that day, Leon was taken aback by Rufus Sr.'s appearance. Though frail, his voice was firm and his eyes still shone. Before inviting Jake and Gemma into his office, the older men had a tense discussion. In Leon's office, Jake, Gemma, Leon, and Rufus Sr. sat down. The reunion between Jake and his grandfather was both regretful for the time lost and joyful for their embrace. Rufus Sr. wasted no time. "Jake, would you consider taking over the company?" A startled Jake inquired. "But Grandpa, why? What about Dad and Rufus?" Rufus offered a sad smile. "I'm unwell and it's progressing. I might not be able to confront this terrible duo currently wreaking havoc in my company. I've witnessed your leadership firsthand." Jake, taken aback, gripped Gemma's hand. "I'm at a loss. Why keep this from me?" "I had my reasons, Jake. But can you answer my question? And what about your girlfriend?" "But I'm building a home here, Grandpa, for us," Gemma interjected with humor. "Who's talking about taking it slow now?" She glanced at Jake, hinting at her agreement. "I want kids soon," Jake affirmed. Gemma leaped up, kissed Jake passionately, and declared, "I stopped my pills last night. Is that clear?" Rufus interjected, reminding them they were still at the company. "And Jake, the office isn't far from here." Jake and Gemma exchanged glances, silently agreeing to Rufus's offer. Jake turned to his grandfather. "What about Dad and Rufus?" "Leave that to me. When you're in charge, they won't pose a threat. You're not alone in holding a grudge against them. When should I step in?" "So you're taking the reins? Leading the company that brings me joy?" "Yes, Grandpa, I'm on board. But as my health deteriorates, I'll need end-of-life care. Leon, having witnessed his wife's painful passing, has helped set up a private clinic for this purpose. I plan to go there in about 10 days. Jake mulled over this silently until Gemma prodded, "What's with all the secrecy?" "I suspect Randall and Rufus will stop at nothing to maintain their lifestyle. Jake's already a thorn in Rufus's side, and I had to warn him against using the company's legal office for his lawsuits." Leon intervened. "We've devised a strategy to shield you both from Randall and Rufus." Addressing his old friend, he asked, "Shall I explain, or would you like to?" "You go ahead. I'm weary," replied Rufus Sr. Leon outlined the plan. "After Rufus's passing, trusted managers will be notified to lock down the company using specialized software. Employees will be sent home with full pay for the duration. It's all accounted for." Jake and Gemma were taken aback by the magnitude of the situation. Jake inquired about their role. His grandfather assured they'd be informed when the will was revealed, signaling their takeover of the company. Rufus Sr. assured Jake that Randall and Rufus were already handled, promising to explain in a letter. He advised Jake to remain unaware for now. "Can I visit you at the clinic, Grandpa?" asked Jake emotionally. "No, son. I prefer solitude for what's to come. Promise to care for your mother," Rufus Sr. replied. With tearful farewells, Jake and Gemma left. Back at Jake's apartment, they grappled with the news. Jake sighed. "I'll miss him, more than my own father." Gemma could only offer comfort with a hug and a kiss. 2 weeks later, Jake, eager to finalize his woodland home, concluded discussions with a contractor recommended by Nathan. Opting to stay, he expanded the house into a 5-bedroom abode with modern amenities, including a geothermal heating system and renewable energy sources. Seated outside his house with unsettling news, Jake found partial comfort in Gemma's arrival, but still felt a sense of loss. The next day, accompanied by Gemma, Jake attended the will reading. A black sedan trailed them, prompting Jake to stop in a mall parking lot. Another car approached, and a woman revealed herself as FBI, tasked with ensuring Jake's safety until the matter was resolved as per Rufus Sr.'s wishes. Jake entered the conference room, leaving Gemma in the waiting area, and saw his father, mother, and Rufus Jr. already seated. Rufus Jr. taunted him, but the lawyer swiftly intervened, warning Rufus to behave or face removal. Randall refrained from interfering, recognizing the lawyer's authority. As the formalities commenced, Jake couldn't shake the image of Gandalf from his mind. Then, to his surprise, he was named the sole heir and successor as chairman of Vandam Aeronautical Industries. Bewildered, Jake questioned the sudden turn of events. Jake's mother remained composed in her seat, a faint smile playing on her lips, while Randall and Rufus erupted. "I'm his son, and Rufus is my son. I'll tear you apart, you fraud!" bellowed Randall at the lawyer. Unfazed, the lawyer calmly pressed a button. Within moments, the door swung open, and 4 imposing men entered. They exuded a strength that could rival a gorilla's and positioned themselves beside the enraged duo. One of them growled at Randall. "You wouldn't want me to get physical, would you, sir?" Randall immediately deflated, but Rufus, known for his lack of restraint, lunged at Jake, shouting, "I'll eliminate you, you illegitimate." In an instant, he was back in his seat, wincing in pain, clutching his thumb and wrist. With order restored, the lawyer resumed. "My dear friends, Rufus anticipated this unfortunate turn of events. Hence I invited these gentlemen to maintain order." He turned to Randall and continued, "Mr. Van Dam possesses evidence proving you are not his biological son. He divorced your mother for a reason. Therefore, Rufus Jr. is not his grandson." After ensuring his message had been received, the lawyer proceeded inexorably, addressing Randall. "Furthermore, Mr. Van Dam learned of your mistreatment of your wife and your misuse of company funds for personal pleasure. He proposed to your wife, who accepted. She conceived Jacob Randall Van Dam. We possess notarized affidavits and genetic proof confirming that Jacob Randall Van Dam is the legitimate second son of Anna Van Dam Hansen and Rufus Van Dam." Randall appeared on the brink of explosion, and explode he did, directing his rage at his wife. "You're unfaithful! You've betrayed me! Think you'll get away with it? I'll sell you off to a Russian brothel!" he bellowed. The lawyer intervened, signaling for two men to restrain Randall. Simultaneously, Rufus appeared stunned, akin to a fish out of water. "Very well," the lawyer addressed the men. "Please document this behavior and threats made by Randall. As for you, Randall, deny it all you want. We have evidence of substantial embezzlement committed by you and your son. You've pilfered around $6 million from the company to sustain your extravagant lifestyle, not to mention the funds stashed away in the Cayman Islands. Furthermore, you've unlawfully sold sensitive technology to rogue nations and competitors. Various government agencies tasked with national security, including the IRS and the FBI, are keen to discuss this matter with both of you. Whether you like it or not, you'll be cooperating with their investigation." He turned to the four men restraining Randall and Rufus and instructed, "Would you kindly escort these gentlemen out and hand them over to the authorities?" Meanwhile, Brooke waited outside, observing Jake's entrance with a woman named Gemma. Witnessing Gemma fulfill her promise and Jake's grateful embrace, Brooke felt a surge of relief. However, her relief turned to dismay half an hour later when she witnessed Rufus and his father being escorted out, their identities verified, and then driven away separately. "What's happening?" Brooke wondered, her mind racing with panic. Moments later, she approached one of the men accompanying the father and son and handed them over to the police. "I can't provide details, ma'am. All I can say is they'll be assisting the authorities with their investigation, and it'll be quite a while," the man explained. Another added, "Seems they're wanted for fraud, embezzlement, industrial espionage, and transferring classified technology to sanctioned countries. I doubt we'll see them for the next 20 years. "Who's going to take over Van Dam's businesses once they're gone?" Brooke inquired, feeling the pit in her stomach deepen. "The other guy, the one who walked in with that informer," came the response. Suddenly, Brooke felt disconnected from reality. Though she wasn't privy to the events in the office, it was evident that Jake had emerged victorious. The promises of a lavish lifestyle and protection from Jake's lawsuit, which Rufus had assured her of, had now vanished. Dejected, she made her way to Rufus's unlocked car, finding the key fob on the center console. Overwhelmed with despair, she drove home. A month later, Brooke was in a state of turmoil. Her modest income couldn't sustain the lifestyle she had grown accustomed to in what she now termed her past life. Now she needed to devise a plan to either boost her earnings or cut down on expenses. The pressing concern was the children's school fees. She believed the only solution was to persuade Jake to take responsibility for the children, meaning she'd have to pry him away from that woman's embrace once more. During her time with Rufus, she had indulged in partying and excessive drinking. At Rufus's urging, she underwent extensive plastic surgery, including a tummy tuck to address post-childbirth flab, bosom augmentation and lift, a facelift, and lip enhancement. Consequently, she lost her natural appearance, the very thing that had attracted Jake. Now she resembled a less vibrant version of singer Cher, with artificial-looking skin. Unconcerned with her altered appearance, Brooke was confident she could replace that woman, Gemma, without difficulty. Early one morning, Brooke sat in her car, positioned to observe whoever emerged from the house. If it was Jake, she planned to leave and return later. If it was Gemma, she would wait a few minutes to ensure minimal chance of her return, then proceed to the door to reclaim her husband. Suddenly, a blue Nissan Rogue appeared and disappeared around the corner. Quickly checking her makeup, Brooke waited 5 minutes before exiting the car and approaching the front door. She had heard that Jake had designed and partially constructed the house himself, so she forced herself to inspect it closely to know what to commend. She could always suggest remodeling to suit his preferences. The house seemed to blend into the hill, perched atop with its north-facing facade. 2 large windows flanked the door, adorned with shutters. Taking a deep breath, Brooke adjusted her shirt to accentuate her cleavage, grasped the door knocker, and let it fall. The sound reverberated through the house as Brooke waited patiently. Just as she was about to leave, the door opened noiselessly, and Jake emerged. He scanned her without expression, offering no invitation inside. Eventually, she spoke in a sultry tone. "Hi, Jake. You're looking good. Life treating you well, I see." "Brooke, I've been expecting your call for some reason. What do you want?" "I want us to talk. Are you going to invite me in?" Jake sighed. "Let's just get this over with," he thought. "Then come in," he replied wearily, leading her into his office, closest to the door to prevent her from surveying the rest of the house. Jake had an inkling of her purpose. Gesturing for her to sit, he took the chair opposite and asked, "All right, Brooke. Speak. What do you need from me?" "Aren't you going to show me the rest of the house?" "No. Why would I? Now tell me why you're here." "Jake, don't you see we're meant to be together? We have history and 2 children. I need you to come back to me." Jake studied Brooke, a bewildering thought crossing his mind. "What's happening? Is she losing it?" Aloud, he said, "We do share a past, but my version of it is vastly different from yours. You're delusional if you think we'll reconcile." Jake's response didn't faze Brooke. "I admit I made a mistake, but we still have children to consider. I can't provide for them adequately. They're not even mine. I have solid evidence they're from my half-brother, so why should I? You've been their primary caregiver, and you've done a commendable job. Rufus has never been capable of caring for them properly." With a sigh, Jake responded, "Don't worry, I'll take care of them, solely because my mother, their grandmother, requested it. She pleaded with me to ensure you couldn't access that money. I have no desire to improve your lifestyle, Brooke." This conversation unfolded in a way Brooke hadn't anticipated. Jake had always been accommodating to her requests, and she had conveniently forgotten their past issues leading to their divorce. Now, she encountered resistance. Desperate for Jake to support her and her children, she attempted a different tactic. "Jake," she cooed, "I understand I've caused you pain, but it was all Rufus's influence. Now that he's gone, we can be mutually beneficial to each other. Imagine what I could offer you. I possess skills in bed that would amaze you. Leave that cold-hearted woman and return to me. Together, we could have a fulfilling life like a proper family." Jake remained silent for a moment, leading Brooke to believe she had won him over. Yet, her words had the opposite effect on him. "You're behaving and presenting yourself like a courtesan. Our past interactions make me wary of you. I'll never touch you, even in a provocative outfit. Regarding your children, I've arranged housing in St. Christopher's Crossing. Since Olivia will be attending college there, Brian will reside with his grandmother until he also attends college there. You're unfit to care for him or provide housing. I've taken care of that. However, you won't receive any financial support from me." After a brief pause, Jake's words left Brooke stunned. He continued, "If you resist, I'll report fraud and extortion to the authorities, disclosing that the children aren't mine and that you cheated me during the divorce because of it. Now leave. I'm finished." As Jake fell silent, the door opened and Gemma appeared. Jake invited her in, signaling Brooke's departure. A beaming Gemma entered the room, her prominent baby bump impossible to miss. She approached Jake with eagerness and planted a kiss on his cheek, whispering discreetly to ensure Brooke couldn't overhear. "My suspicions were right. There are 2 of them." As Jake's grin widened, Brooke could no longer contain herself. "You're expecting," she exclaimed, realizing that her and Jake's plans had gone astray. Gemma and Jake exchanged a glance, and Jake subtly nodded. Turning to Brooke, Gemma confirmed, "Yes, I'm pregnant. I'm going to bless Jake with his own children, the ones he's long deserved. Now that you're leaving, we need to make arrangements. Let's renovate the kids' room." A realization struck Brooke. "The kids, you mean?" Gemma's face lit up. "Yes, I'm carrying twins. I'm 3 months along. I grew suspicious when my belly started swelling unusually early. The first ultrasound didn't reveal both fetuses because one was concealed behind the other. This latest ultrasound confirmed 2 boys." She passionately kissed Jake and whispered, "Boys?" Brooke protested, "You can't abandon me like this. Don't leave me to fend for myself. Take your niece and nephew." Jake decided it was time to abandon all pretense of civility and responded in a tone familiar to Brooke but new to Gemma. I don't know the connection between Olivia, Brian, and me. You tell me. Remember, Randall wasn't Rufus Sr.'s biological son, and neither am I. Though we share the same mother, since Randall and Rufus Jr. were arrested, Brooke has had no contact with them. Anna distanced herself and wanted nothing to do with her. Brooke realized she was truly alone. Without a decent job, she lived in a rundown apartment selling her belongings one by one. She hung her head and barely registered Jake's next words. If it were up to me, you'd be left to fend for yourself. But my mother and Gemma believe that abandoning you completely would leave you a broken wreck. I'm fine with that. But they fear taking care of you might burden them. So I arranged a job for you. It's simple physical labor that will cover your rent and basic needs. Despite applying for multiple jobs, Brooke faced rejection each time. She'd need to seek employment elsewhere, possibly far away, and risk losing contact with her children entirely. Jake handed her a card with contact information. Gemma added, "This is your only chance to stay connected with the kids. It's the only job available for you. Once the legal proceedings conclude, if you don't seize this opportunity, we'll wash our hands of you and won't pursue custody of your children." They've realized the truth about what you did to the man they believed was their father. Now Gemma signaled to Brooke that it was time to depart. Standing by the door, she confronted Brooke, stating, "In the end, I triumphed. I have Jake, and soon, I'll have his children. Your selfishness destroyed Jake. You placed your bets on the wrong man for an illusory life of luxury. I have the finest man, and you're left with nothing." Gemma fixed Brooke with a stern gaze and continued, "Let me warn you. If you attempt anything with Jake, I'll intervene. If you try to manipulate your children or turn them against him, or if you cause Jake any injury, I'll pursue you relentlessly until you're utterly destroyed. Do you comprehend?" Brooke was stunned by Gemma's blatant threats and overt hostility. "Answer me. Do you understand? You've already caused Jake enough pain, and it ends here and now. Do you understand what I'm saying?" Brooke replied softly, "Yes, I understand. No direct interaction with Jake. Only through you." "Yes, now leave." Brooke, who had stood confidently before the mirror just hours earlier, was now shattered. Her world had crumbled within the last 45 minutes. With heavy steps, Brooke made her way to her car. Inside, Gemma was nestled comfortably in Jake's arms. Brooke sighed. "You're mine. It's taken nearly 20 years to reach this point, but we're reunited, despite Brooke, and thanks to her foolishness." After a moment, she rose, pulling Jake along. "We need to practice." "Practice? For what?" Jake inquired. "For baby number 3, of course," Gemma replied, giggling as she led him into the bedroom.